The F-22 will go away, eventually. But not before the Air Force got comfortable with a successor. World history, often determined by war during the 20th and 21st centuries, aircraft played an increasingly important role in determining outcomes and preventing aggression. Washington. Top Air Force officials are now convinced that the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor lacks the depth and magazine range needed to carry it into the next decade as the air superiority fighter of choice. But the exact timing of his retirement will depend on how quickly the Air Force can put its sixth-generation fighter into production, said Lieutenant Gen. Clinton Hinote, the service's Deputy Chief of Staff for Strategy, Integration and Requirements. In the 2030 timeframe, you're talking about a 40-year-old platform, in the F-22. And that wouldn't be the right tool for the job, especially when we're talking about defending our defenses. Friends like Taiwan and Japan and the Philippines against China's growing and evolving threat, Hinote told Defense News in an exclusive May 13 interview. We treat the F-22 as a bridge to NGAD capability, he said, using the acronym for the Next Generation Air Dominance Program, where the service plans to develop a sixth-generation fighter to replace the F-22. The limitations of the F-22, Hinote said, include its small fleet size, which contributes to its high operating costs and low level of mission capability. It has a relatively short range, just 1,850 nautical miles with 2 external fuel tanks, and its gun magazine is small and lacks depth and range. Even its survivability will eventually be at stake as enemy nations have more capable air defense systems and its stealth advantage is declining, he said. The F-22's range and depth issues are not that different from the F-35's, Hinote admits. The F-22 can carry 6 AIM-120C AMRA-AMs and 2 AIM-9 missiles internally for air-to-air missions, while the F-35 can only carry 4 AMRA-AMs in the payload bay while maintaining a stealth configuration. However, the F-35 is newer, more versatile and easier to maintain, with a longer life than the F-22 can offer, and the new weapon is coming as part of the Block 4 upgrade program. Additionally, the Air Force will operate a larger number of F-35s, with just 186 F-22s in the Air Force inventory compared to 283 F-35A models as of May 8, according to U.S. military update. And most importantly, the F-35 is easier to modernize than the F-22, although Hinote noted that there will be requests in the 2022 fiscal year budget to make targeted upgrades to the F-22's sensor capabilities, as well as to fund new ones. Weapons that can be used throughout the fighter aircraft inventory. You will see in our budget filing that we are pursuing advanced air-to-air missiles, he said. We will need that if we are to upgrade all of our fighters. Yes, you can put it in the F-22. That won't negate some of the other challenges. In addition to NGAD, the Air Force plans to retain the F-35, which Brown says will act as a cornerstone for the fighter aircraft inventory, as well as the F-15EX and F-16. The F-15EX was originally purchased to replace the F-15C D Eagles that are nearing the end of their service life, but Brown's reveal also signals the sunset of the F-15E Strike Eagle as well. And most importantly, the F-35 is easier to modernize than the F-22, although Hinote noted that there will be requests in the 2022 fiscal year budget to make targeted upgrades to the F-22's sensor capabilities, as well as to fund new ones. Weapons that can be used throughout the fighter aircraft inventory. You will see in our budget filing that we are pursuing advanced air-to-air missiles, he said. We will need that if we are to upgrade all of our fighters. Yes, you can put it in the F-22. That won't negate some of the other challenges. In addition to NGAD, the Air Force plans to retain the F-35, which Brown says will act as a cornerstone for the fighter aircraft inventory, as well as the F-15EX and F-16. The F-15EX was originally purchased to replace the F-15C D Eagles that are nearing the end of their service life, but Brown's reveal also signals the sunset of the F-15E Strike Eagle as well. Hinote spoke with Defense News a day after Air Force Chief of Staff General C.Q. Brown revealed upcoming service plans to phase out the F-22 and streamline the service fighter inventory to 4 major fighter variants. The 4 aircraft include NGAD, Lockheed Martin F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, Boeing F-15EX and Lockheed F-16. Currently we have 7 combat fleets. My intention is to go down to about 4. With those 4, what's the right mix? Brown said at the McAleese and Associates conference on Wednesday. He added that the service would also maintain the A-10 Warthog attack aircraft, for the time being. Talk of the F-22's future is conspicuously absent in Brown's comments, although the Raptor currently ranks as the Air Force's second newest fighter and its primary air superiority fighter. Hinote said the retirement of the F-22 would be event-driven, and intertwined with the development of the NGAD, occurring closer to the 2030s than in the upcoming fiscal year 2022 budget cycle. We don't have to make that decision this year, he said. What we want to see, when do we push from NGAD to a development program to a production program? Some people call that milestone C. Few details have been released about the highly classified NGAD program, but service officials consider it a family of systems, not just traditional fighter jets flown by human pilots. Last September, former Air Force Acquisitions executive Will Roper announced that a full-scale NGAD demonstrator had made its maiden flight. We currently think that it is manned, unmanned, and optionally manned, Hinote said. Frankly, I think we're going to explore all of that going forward to see what the best use of this is. It's unclear how close NGAD will be to fielding, but Hinote says it's running ahead of expectations. Some of the best pilots and our joint partners have been very impressed with the progress that the primes have made, and all the other subcontractors that have been made, he said. Perhaps the biggest part is this digital design idea and then system integration on the government reference architecture. If we can do those things well, we'll take them down earlier, he said. Otherwise, the Air Force will have to hold on to the F-22 for much longer. It's a great plane, Hinote said of the F-22. But as the service moves into the 2030s, the Raptor will find itself defeated by enemy technology. In a war game held by the Air Force last year, simulating China's invasion of Taiwan in the mid-2030s, the service relied on NGAD to penetrate into areas occupied by the Chinese threat. We can't use the F-22 in that way, he said.